So my unsolicited relationship advice. I have a lot of people coming to me with their relational traumas and dramas and whatnot. And I realize what a lot of people are doing and what they're seeking is advice from a therapist or a friend or whatever, dealing in the upper dimensions of emotional and psychological things, and where behaviors and problems are really rooted with all of us is in the spiritual and energetic dimensions, which is the roots. So if you really want to get to the core of the matter and solutions, it's going to where things are rooted in us, not in the behavior of the other person, in the drama and the saga and all that. To really have a healthy relationship, everything starts with self-love. When we develop and build a good foundation of self-love, we're not in a place where we're needing another person to make us happy. And then we get into a place of acceptance. And if we're in a place of acceptance with the other person, any kind of relationship, but especially the deeply involved ones, romantic ones and monogamous partnerships and whatnot, and marriages, everything can get super chaotic and just compile over time with all the shitty things we do in the surface. So having self-love and being in a place of acceptance, being in a place where the other person can leave you at any time, you stay in a place of appreciation and you're in present energy. You're not thinking about the future. What ends up happening so often is we don't have a lot of self-love. And I've done this, lived it, not judging, just sharing things I've learned from my story and observing those around me. We stay together, we get together because of maybe a dopamine rush, or we're in a place of lack and we want the other person to make us feel better. And they do for a minute, all that stuff kicks in and it feels great. But then over time, maybe we get married, we start popping out kids, we buy property, let's get a house and a boat and more cars, let's take trips and do all these things. And those things are all great. They have their place and they're positive, but they are not actually the what ultimately makes us happy. So misplacing what makes us happy onto other people and other things is just setting us up for disappointment and creating our own suffering. Where traditional relationship therapy falls short is it tells us to stay in this box of doing whatever we can to keep the relationship together. And that just creates toxicity. What we end up doing is we make concessions for ourselves, put conditions on the relationship with the other person with expectations things are going to get better in the future. So now we're got our energy in the future. We're not present. We're not in acceptance. And the worst thing I've heard, and we've all heard this, is relationships take work. Relationships take sacrifice. You know what? Healthy relationships really don't. So you think about that for a minute. Why are we sacrificing? Dishonoring ourselves, making concessions, not being true to ourselves, not setting boundaries or living within healthy boundaries. So set all that aside for a minute and think of another approach or another vantage point. Building up self-love creates a foundation of not being needy, not being insecure, not needing to be with another person. And so when different relationships come and go in our lives, we're in a place of acceptance that they last for a period of time. Everything doesn't need to last forever. As I was putting this script together last week, it just kind of fell together, kind of playing it through my head. I had a little bit of a falling out with a friend of mine in the middle of it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this kind of caused a little bit of suffering. So I realized I'm going to exercise with this situation exactly what I'm going to share in this video. And I came to a place of acceptance. Like, okay, maybe that friend's gonna fall away and not be around anymore, and that's okay. I accept it. It creates some space for maybe something else to come along or something that's waiting to come into my life to show up, and that's great. And it only took a couple of days, and she came back around and had a 2-minute conversation, and everything was great. So it was super easy. I didn't have to be needy or clingy and reach out and make concessions. I just accepted it, and everything worked out great. Where does all this take us? It takes us into the unknown. What do we do when we're in fear? We want to control people. We want to control the relationship. And where's fear and control rooted? Lack of self-love. But it's basically just our ego. Our ego only knows what's historical. So it only wants to bring things from our past into our future, known experiences, known things, so it feels safe and comfortable. What's uncomfortable for a minute is the unknown, the future. Are we going to be alone? It's pretty awesome being alone sometimes. It's where all the magic really happens for me. But are we going to be alone? What's tomorrow going to bring? We don't know, so we want to control it. We build up a foundation of self-love. We don't need anything or need anybody. Then the unknown is where all the magic really happens. When we're in a place of gratitude and acceptance, We don't need to be in the relationship we're struggling, trying to keep together. Once we grow out of that, when you're acceptance, your palms are open, you're just receiving. New people will come into our lives, new experiences, new things, new opportunities that mirror the frequency that we're at. I live my life this way, and we all live our lives this way. If we're in a toxic relationship and the other person is toxic and whatever word we want to put on them or the relationship, well, guess what? We're toxic too. We attract people and things in our life with the frequency that we're vibrating at. Whether it's low vibration or high vibration, it's that simple. So if you see toxic behavior in the other person, well, guess what? You're doing that too. Maybe not the specific things, but the frequency of their behaviors is going to be the same as yours. So here's what happens when you get into the unknown. When you get to a place where you don't care, not that you don't care about the person, but you don't care that you have to have them in your life. You're going to be just fine with or without them. You don't have to control anything. You don't have to change them. Here's what happens. Everything works out just like it's supposed to. They might grow and develop. They might mirror you and respond in their own way, and that's their business. Or they might fall away. And this is where we get into manifesting. So we attract what we're vibrating, and we manifest what's good for us. And if the person falls away, that's great. What's going to happen is the people or the person or whoever in the future is going to be in our lives is going to be attracted to us, and everything just sorts itself out. We don't even have to have that chaotic, traumatic conversations and breakups. The final thing with relationship therapy and marriage counseling and whatnot, and I've talked to 6 or 8 people in the last few weeks that get this, and it's so great that those are people that are very advanced spiritually in my life, and I love that we're all on the same page with this, is when a marriage comes to an end, a relationship ends, if you do it in a healthy, right way, and you're both full of self-love, it's a celebration. You literally can have a party with friends and celebrate turning a page and moving on to the next thing. And both people have enjoyed the relationship, they've outgrown it, and they're ready to move on to the next thing. And you can say goodbye with full love. You're not trying to possess or control or fill a void in yourself. You can allow the person you love to move on. And that is really an act of love, because you're loving them so much that you're letting them go. That right there feels fucking wonderful.